fun discussion where we'll have all these speakers joining me to discuss the benefits of each program. So I want to thank all the speakers for their insights into the various global residency and citizenship opportunities. We now move on to the International Immigration Experts panel to discuss the trending destinations to build a better tomorrow. So on this panel discussion, please welcome our speakers. We have Mr. Pratik, Mr. Kumar Pratik, Business Development Executive, CS Global Partners, Caribbean. He's representing the Caribbean Investment by Caribbean Citizenship by Investment Program. So please welcome Mr. Kumar Pratik on stage. Joining him on stage, we have Mr. Brun, Associate Business Developer, Mr. Malta. She's representing the Malta Investment Migration Program. Please put your hands together and welcome Charlotte on stage. We also have David Machado, co-founder, PT Golden Visa, Portugal, representing the Portugal Golden Visa Program, joining us on stage. So please put your hands together and welcome David on stage. We have Connolly, Legal and Finance Director, Visada, Ireland, representing the Irish Immigration Investor Program. Please welcome Connolly on stage. We also have Leary, CEO of Fresh Start UK, representing business setting up options in the UK. Please welcome Mr. Leary on stage. We also have Mr. Nicolas Salerno, board member, Investaureum, Portugal, representing the Portugal Golden Visa Program, coming up on stage. Please put your hands together and welcome him on stage. We have Mr. Hogan, Vice President of Project Development, CMB Regional Centers USA, representing the USA EB5 Investor Program. And we have Mr. Christos Vardikos, Attorney at Law and Counsel of the Commonwealth of Dominica. He is representing Vardikos, Greece, and he'll be talking to us about the Greece program. A warm welcome to all our speakers on stage. Please give them a round of applause for joining us on stage. Now, all of you, at least some of you, have given us presentations about your country's programs, and each country is really a heaven for people looking for a second residency or even a citizenship. So, Kumar Pratik, I want to understand from you, why should Indians consider the Caribbean? We've seen that we've heard speakers coming, India and Stephen, and they've spoken to us about the ease of travel, about the timelines being very short. Are there any tax benefits for Indians as well? Is there any benefit of tax planning in any of these Caribbean countries as well?
Thank you for having us today. Anisha, thanks for the question. When we talk about the Citizenship by Investment Program, I was just discussing with people out here. And I think people have a very myopic view about citizenship by investment. This is that a citizenship leads to a passport which gives you a flexibility in terms of mobility. But a citizenship by investment program has a lot more to offer than actually meets the eye. When we are talking to investors, not everybody who is looking for a Caribbean citizenship by investment program is doing for a travel document. There are various other reasons, and tax optimization, we like to talk about this, but I am not a tax expert, so I'll probably reserve my judgment and my opinions to what I know of. A lot of people actually are looking for a Caribbean citizenship by investment program because they want to optimize their wealth and optimize their tax options as well. I'm sure all of us, we've heard about the draconian worldwide taxation laws, and that probably pushes a lot of people into looking into jurisdictions which are tax conducive as well, and that's where Caribbean Citizenship and Investment Program comes into form. So apart from tax, there are other, like I said, when you come from a geography which is quite hostile and people are vulnerable there, they like to have an insurance plan just in case things go awry, and they have a safe haven. I mean, I don't like to quote this example, but just what happened in Afghanistan today. People who could have preempted this, they actually, I think I remember somebody taking up a citizenship because he had preempted this at some point of time. Says, I am taking this as an insurance policy just in case things go absolutely south. I will have somewhere to go to. And that's what I say, So anybody who's looking into the Caribbean Citizenship Investment Program should not be looking at primarily from a perspective of getting a better travel document. But there are other components which also help you when you're getting a citizenship in the Caribbean, any of the jurisdictions that we're talking about.
All right. So a lot of considerations one must keep in mind when they're looking for a second citizenship or a residency plan. Charlotte, I loved your presentation about Malta. But in India, we're used to everything very big. I mean, the number of people in Malta will be perhaps in a small little place in New Delhi itself. We're used to huge crowds, we're used to huge countries, and most of the times Indians look at countries that have an established program for many years and usually large. Now, some people have a feeling, such a small place, what if there is a lockdown and I'm stuck? I can't move. If I'm in Malta, will I feel stifled? Will I be able to grow my business? If there, we've seen this in the pandemic, there'll be lockdowns. What would you say to that?
So, thank you for your comment about the presentation. So it's a very interesting question because I get that all the time, not only from clients but also from relatives or acquaintances. Don't you feel claustrophobic in Malta? It's such a small island. And my answer is surprisingly maybe no. I've been in Malta for 5 years permanently, but I've been visiting the country for over, I think, 25 years now. And no, Malta is an island with so much culture, so much things to see, to do, entertainment, hospitality. I mean, the list will go on and on. So I still have yet to discover things and places in Malta after so long. So I promise you will not be bored in Malta. When it comes to pandemic and lockdown, we were actually quite lucky because we have avoided strict lockdown in Malta simply because we were a small country and we were able to, for a small period of time, close our borders to limit the cases coming in, but it really lasted a few months, and again, travel with the EU is also permitted because of the countries have agreements between themselves, so it did not feel like a very strict lockdown like in other countries.
And what would you say about connectivity? I mean, for people in the area around the Middle East, Africa, Europe, how's the connectivity like in Malta? I mean,
it's actually quite good. I mean, by air, obviously, because we're an island and going by boat would be a bit difficult, but you can be in any capital city of European country in a couple of hours, three max. Dubai has direct flights, and some of the countries of Northern Africa as well have direct flight or one stop. So it's quite connected. And one thing that I wanted to mention, that you said to grow the business will it be difficult in Malta? It's actually a good base to use Malta as a base to start your business and then grow in other European countries. We also have we are a tax-friendly jurisdiction, so the corporate tax in Malta is quite low compared to other countries. So there's always good advantages to be in an island, I think. So I really invite anyone who hasn't been to come and have a look and sense for themselves.
Yes, and the location is that not just Europe, the Middle East, Africa, it's all close by.
Exactly, it's just in the middle of the Mediterranean, so we really have all the influence of all these countries as well. You can feel them in Malta. The language is mostly Arabic, really influenced by Arabic. Food, you have tourism from Europe. It's really an impressive melting pot, and I really enjoy it because I'm not ready to leave yet.
That's great. David, we've already seen the presentation and we know that the Portuguese Golden Visa program is a big hit. Since its inception, there have been many successful applicants, and now people have got citizenship as well. From here on, what could be the future for the Portugal visa? Because
Everyone, thank you for having us today. Anisha, thanks for the question. When we talk about the Citizenship by Investment program, I was just discussing with everybody out here, and I think people have a very myopic view about citizenship by investment. This is that a citizenship leads to a passport which gives you a flexibility in terms of mobility. But a citizenship by investment program has a lot more to offer than actually meets the eye. When we are talking to investors, not everybody who is looking for a Caribbean citizenship by investment program is doing for a document, a travel document. There are various other reasons, and tax optimization, we like to talk about this, but I am not a tax expert, so I'll probably reserve my judgment and my opinions to what I know of. A lot of people actually are looking for a Caribbean citizenship by investment program because they want to optimize their wealth and optimize their tax options as well. I'm sure all of us, we've heard about the draconian worldwide taxation laws, and that probably pushes a lot of people into looking into jurisdictions which are tax conducive as well, and that's where Caribbean citizenship by investment program comes into form. So apart from tax, there are other, like I said, when you come from a geography which is quite hostile and people are vulnerable there, they like to have an insurance plan just in case things go awry, and they have a safe haven. I mean, I don't like to quote this example, but just what happened in Afghanistan today. People who could have preempted this, they actually, I think I remember somebody taking up a citizenship because he had preempted this at some point of time. Says, I am taking this as an insurance policy, just in case things go absolutely south, I will have somewhere to go to. And that's what I say, So anybody who's looking into the Caribbean Citizenship by Investment program should not be looking at primarily from a perspective of getting a better travel document. But there are other components which also help you when you're getting a citizenship in the Caribbean, any of the jurisdictions that we're talking about.
all right. So a lot of considerations one must keep in mind when they're looking for a second citizenship or a residency plan. Sharon, I loved your presentation about Malta. But in India, we're used to everything very big. I mean, the number of people in Malta will be perhaps in a small little place in New Delhi itself. We're used to huge crowds, we're used to huge countries, and most of the times Indians look at countries that have an established program for many years and usually large. Now, some people have a feeling, such a small place, what if there is a lockdown and I'm stuck? I can't move. If I'm in Malta, will I feel stifled? Will I be able to grow my business? If there, we've seen this in the pandemic, there have been lockdowns. What would you say to that?
Thank you for your comment about the presentation. So it's a very interesting question because I get that all the time, not only from clients but also from relatives or acquaintances. Don't you feel claustrophobic in Malta? It's such a small island. And my answer is surprisingly maybe no. I've been in Malta for 5 years permanently, but I've been visiting the country for over, I think, 25 years now. And no, Malta is an island with so much culture, so much things to see, to do, entertainment, hospitality. I mean, the list will go on and on. So I still have yet to discover things and places in Malta after so long. So I promise you will not be bored in Malta. When it comes to pandemic and lockdown, we were actually quite lucky because we have avoided a strict lockdown in Malta simply because we were a small country and we were able to, for a small period of time, close our borders to limit the cases coming in, but it really lasted a few months, and again, travel with the EU is also permitted because of the countries have agreements between themselves, so it did not feel like a very strict lockdown like in other countries.
And what would you say about the connectivity? I mean, for people in the in the area around the Middle East, Africa, Europe. How's the connectivity like in Malta?
It's actually quite good. I mean, by air, obviously, because we're an island and going by boat will be a bit difficult, but you can be in any capital city of European country in a couple of hours, three max. Dubai has direct flights, and some of the countries of Northern Africa as well has direct flight or one stop. So it's quite connected. And one thing that I wanted to mention, that you said to grow the business, will it be difficult in Malta? It's actually a good base to use Malta as a base to start your business and then grow in other European countries. We also have we are a tax-friendly jurisdiction, so the corporate tax in Malta is quite low compared to other countries. So there's always good advantages to be in an island, I think. So I really invite anyone who hasn't been to come and have a look and see for themselves.
Yes, and the location is that not just Europe, the Middle East, Africa, it's all close by to Malta.
Exactly, it's just in the middle of the Mediterranean, so we really have all the influence of all these countries as well. You can feel them in Malta. The language is mostly Arabic, really influenced by Arabic. Food, you have tourism from Europe. It's really an impressive melting pot, and I really enjoy it because I'm not ready to leave yet.
That's great. David, we've already seen a presentation and we know that the Portuguese Golden Visa program is a big hit. Since its inception, there have been many successful applicants, and now people have got citizenship as well. From here on, what could be the future for the Portugal Golden Visa? Because there have been some changes that have been brought about, and there's a lot of talk about safeguarding local interest as well. Are there very big changes? Is there a need to act now for potential investors all over the world?
Yeah, Portugal is performing quite well with the Golden Visa program. Basically, it has been serving the interests of the country very well also, because you've seen a massive wave of refurbishment of properties in the city centers. So the government has been pretty smart in moving those investments into different areas. Now we go into another stage to invest in more remote locations in interior areas of Portugal, which will help those cities which have a lot of history to come back alive and bring more people, more interest. And the funny part is all these places that we might call remote, they probably carry more history than a lot of places around the world. So they do have a lot of interest also to explore. So it's a new challenge. The investment will be channeled into these areas, and we're pretty much happy to develop the country all over.
Right. Developing the interior sounds very good, but what kind of opportunity does it give from the point of view of investment return? Because the more popular areas like Lisbon, Porto, the returns have been fantabulous for those who invested, at the right time. Now, if they're going to start comparing the returns from these popular places, what would they be like? And is there something else than just the returns? Because when you're starting something new, is there an opportunity to really grow, if it's a business or something like that, in the interiors of Portugal?
Okay, so one effect you have to be ready to understand is that after this experience of COVID, people understood that you not only want to have a place where you can do business, but a place that you can feel comfortable and enjoy the atmosphere around you. So Portugal has arguments which beat majority of the countries: sunny days every day, very nice weather, clean air, safety. So all these things are making people realize how interesting it is to be in Portugal. Okay. So in the perspective of investment, we have been growing sustainable by bringing tourists. Now we're bringing technology, then we're bringing people to live and work remotely. And suddenly we're going to bring people also to the interior of Portugal. So if you go back in time, I would say 15 years, Lisbon was a city without tourists, was a city totally abandoned in the city centers and without refurbishment. Today is a different city. So the challenge now is, you may think that investing in the main cities is the priority, but the opportunity is to invest in the remote cities where the price is still low and is going to increase a lot. Those places will come back alive very quickly, and that's going to be the opportunity to raise your investment value and also to contribute for the country development.
Amen. Let's hope that works out. Mr. Connolly, would you tell us about the biggest draw of the program in Ireland? Why should Indians consider Ireland as a place to reside and perhaps apply for citizenship?
Yeah,
Indians and everybody.
Yeah, there's many good things about the IIP program in Ireland. I suppose the first one is that it's regulated by our Department of Justice, so each project that an agent wants to do, it has to be agreed by our Department of Justice first as a first check. There's a reason why every single multinational has their headquarters in an IT sector in Ireland. IBM, Google, even now one's coming from China, TikTok, and what we're getting now is you're getting the second generation of companies now being formed in Ireland, like Swipe, who are two schoolboys in Ireland. They're probably one of the biggest financial IT companies now. One of the other benefits is you only have to reside a day a year in Ireland, so you can move your family and still work yourself in your own country or whatever. Obviously, we're the only company English-speaking company after the EU now, as partners next door have gone their own way. Where travel is the residency, the visa travel can lead to a passport over a period of time. It's not a passport, but it's a pathway to a passport. The Irish passport's ranked 5th in the world. The social benefits of living in Ireland, house prices, economy, education. So there's many varied ways of and good things to live in Ireland.
Right. So, Mr. Connolly, could you tell us what would be the amount an investor would need to invest? You said that the number of days, you have to stay in the country is just a couple of days. How much would you have to invest? And what is the timeline like for you? You said it's a path, but how long does it take?
Well, it's a residency program, so there are actually two different types of program. There's a donation program, which is requires a €400,000 investment, and then there's an investment, an IIP investment program, which wants to create and sustain employment in Ireland, and that's €1 million. So you must leave your investment in for a minimum of 3 years. Your residency is renewed after 2 years, and once you can confirm that the investment is still in place, it's reviewed for another 3 years, and then every 5 years after that.
All right. Mr. Leary, UK is a place which is, a prime destination for investors, be it, from Russia, from China, from all over the world. London is a financial capital, and it has a huge history. And the program also has been running for a very long time. So, could you tell us what are the options for those looking to expand their business? How does a program, this kind of program in the UK, help them?
Yes, certainly. The UK has a number of programs, particularly for businessmen and women who wish to come to the UK and expand their business. It's called Innovator Visa, and that is available for anybody who wants to invest into the UK and start their own business, or alternatively, if they don't have a business idea they are confident that will succeed in the UK. We have a number of clients who are UK-based businesses who have been preceded for investment from foreign investors, and an individual can actually come to the UK and make an investment into one of these companies. The benefit of that is that the way we actually bring the investors to the UK is we match their skill sets, their knowledge and their background to the local business. So already the individual will have a good understanding of the marketplace, they will be able to invest in that company, and they'll also have a very strong input into the success of that business. So whilst it's a risk, the investment into a UK company becomes less of a risk because of their knowledge and their background. There are a number of visas available to investors to come into the UK, and they range from business investors through to skilled worker jobs. So now people who don't necessarily wish to invest, they can come to the UK through our skilled worker visa and actually work within a company and get a job and get full salary for 5 years before they receive their permanent residency. So we have a visa to suit most requirements.
Right. What is the minimum investment, and how does one find a business partner in the UK?
The minimum investment into the UK is £50,000, and that's set by the UK government. At that level, the realism is that no UK business would consider that as an investment into their company. So the option there is that the individual has to set up their own business. My business will provide support and ongoing support for the duration of the visa. In terms of being able to find UK companies to invest into, then our role is to find these companies, to vet them, and then we have a matchmaking type service where we bring the investor and the company together to succeed in completing their permanent residency.
For how long has this program been functional, and do investors need to stay in the UK? Because some of the programs have a long residency stipulation, to stay.
Yeah, the Innovator Visa has been around since 2019, and because it's a 3-year program, we don't have any completions yet. The first completions will be in the summer of 2022. In terms of the access to these investments, then it is a very straightforward process. The good thing about the Innovator, though, is that whatever level of investment a client makes into a UK company, at the end of that 3-year period when they receive their permanent residency, they can actually negotiate with the client or the company that they receive all of their investment back at the end of the 3-year period.
All right. Nicolas, we've seen your presentation, and even David told us that Portugal has done very well during the COVID pandemic. The healthcare system is a very strong one there as well, and you get a lot of social benefits should you reside in Portugal and then later on apply for citizenship. For those investors who are looking to invest, what is the best way forward? Because there are a number of options of investment, real estate being the most popular one. What would you like to tell investors about the options, and which one do you think works best?
There is no answer to these questions, in the sense that every person has its own wish and desire. Portugal has, as you mentioned, many options. We are here speaking about investment categories, so Golden Visa is fitting these categories. We also specialize in one of those subcategories, which is the rehabilitation project in the main cities or outside areas. You have investment funds, you have bank deposits, but if someone wants to actually live in Portugal, we have also other solutions that will not require investment. One of the popular ones being T7, for example. We are seeing many people that are actually moving to Portugal under this category of investment. As my colleague from Portugal mentioned, people realized during COVID that you don't need to be in an office to work, you don't need to be in the main city to work, so they will set up in the suburb or in the interior of the country. Portugal has the main advantage, as I mentioned in my presentation, of having an extremely well-developed internal communication system in terms of internet telecom, but also in terms of highway system, which means that within maybe maximum 4 hours, 5 hours driving, you are everywhere. So if you need to move from north to south or from east to west, it's nothing. And basically you can work from home. The digital nomads categories is what had been proven. It had been popular in Portugal, in Madeira, for example. We've seen a lot of them. Turning hotels into residency for digital nomads. And I think, as I said, there is no real answer to this question, because someone will want to actually live and move with his family. Myself, I made the choice to move. I chose Lisbon because obviously my line of business requires me to travel a lot, and I wanted to be where the airport will allow me to go to most places. Also, we have many international airports in Portugal. Lisbon remains the most suitable to someone like me. At itself, an enable because I wanted my kids to go to school walking, that to be international school, so I made choice according to my personal criteria. And maybe an Indian moving to Portugal, there is a huge community from the South Indian continent. As you know, Goa used to be Portuguese colony, and we have very strong bonds between India and Portugal. I believe most of the best Indian food is not in London, but most likely in Portugal due to the relationship between the countries. And I've been spending a lot of time in London and in Portugal, and I have to say that I think the Indian food in Portugal is likely to be one notch up. But it all depends on what will be the desire of the person.
Right, but Nicolas, this digital nomadic life is very recent. Most investors, feel that they want to invest into something they can cherish, they can hold, something that anchors them. Maybe this is the reason why pre-pandemic, real estate was a very good investment that way. Brought a lot of other benefits. So, is that still the most popular way to go forward, or the other programs that you're talking about? What is the minimum amount that one has to invest?
No, it is the most popular one, especially the way it has been designed. The traditional real estate market is shifting in a sense, as you know, at the end of the year, you cannot obtain residency through real estate investment in the coastal area or in the center of the country. But ultimately, most of the developer will set up a fund that will actually make the same kind of investment available, but under a different vehicle. So I don't think it's going to be the end of it. Commercial property are still allowed in the downtown area of Lisbon, Porto. We are still authorized to obtain golden visa through this kind of investment. Obviously, the option of investment that we are doing is one of the most popular because it's the lowest level of investment. So people that are actually looking into investing in a country, most of the time they will want to taste before really putting more money. So and I will tell you that most of our clients are coming under the 280,000, often with a buyback option. Not maybe because this is a place where they desire to live in, but because they see it as the safest vehicle of investment for them. And when they will move to Portugal, for the one who desire to move to Portugal, they will look at different opportunities to actually trigger maybe a higher return on investment or something that would be more of an emotional properties. So I think it really depends. Most of the investors we are seeing coming in Portugal, they intend to choose something safe and cheap to be able to secure the golden visa. Once you have a golden visa, I think it opens the door to many more opportunities. And I mean, we have many of our clients that once they obtain the golden visas, they will put 5, 10, 20 million. Actually, even in our company, we have a division that specializes to develop projects for some clients. I mean, we have many clients who come to say, I want to put 20 million in Portugal. I want.
Again, movement got restricted. Now, people are still hoping for EB5, and many investors are willing to wait for years. The timeline you mentioned, people are still willing to wait. What happens now? Does it only get extended, or is this uncertainty, going to translate into something more serious in the months ahead?
Yeah, that's the question that I think the entire industry has been kind of waiting for an answer on, and waiting for some clarity on. As you mentioned, the EB5 program historically has been incredibly popular, and to sound like the arrogant American up here. The U.S. is still destination number one for a lot of people. Access to secondary education for their families, access to the U.S. economy for growing or starting a new business in the U.S. has been incredibly important to people looking for that second citizenship, or in the case of the EB5 program, a second permanent visa. But the program has gone through changes. We saw some fluctuation in 2019. The price went up, while at the same time, backlogs were forming in countries like India. There was concern over how long it was going to take people to get through the program. But at the same time, there was demand for the program, and that demand continues to grow today. Right now, we're in this temporary lapse. We're still very, very optimistic that we'll see the program reauthorized by this next deadline now, which is February 18th. And the reason why that date is significant is because the U.S. government is working on creating a new fiscal budget for 2022. It's supposed to be done by September 30th. However, there's many other issues that U.S. lawmakers are focused on right now, and so they've continued to kind of kick that can down the road. And we're confident that when they do resolve that budget, the EB-5 program will be reauthorized at that time. You mentioned, should there be concern for investors? Well, there's two different things, right? There's people who are already within the program, and there's been a lot of concern for those people, because right now the petitions aren't being adjudicated, they're not moving through their process. They've already made their investment, they've created, in many cases, created the jobs that they're supposed to create, but they don't know if they're going to get the benefit that they originally saw. And so we're confident that we're going to see the program reauthorized and that those people are going to be taken care of. And then for the people that are still looking at the U.S. as a viable opportunity, we see the reauthorization as potentially presenting a program that's better than what they were originally looking at. One that may have some fixes to the EB-5 backlogs, and one that may have some fixes to processing times of petitions that might speed those processes up. And then certainly we're hoping for stability. We're looking for a longer term reauthorization, not just a year or a few years. We're looking for maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 plus years. The ultimate goal is to make the regional center portion of the program permanent.
Do you foresee that the regional center program will be the one which will be the one which gets the maximum number of applications? Because like you said, the direct investment program is still on, but going into your country, investing there directly with other partners, it's not something that everybody can do. And regional centers have always been considered safe and easier to navigate. So is the regional center program going to continue the way it was? And do you see it drawing as many applications?
I do. So when the regional center program comes back, it will far and away exceed the demand of the direct program. And it's simply for the main reason being that you mentioned, that the direct program, so I guess let me take a step back. Both programs require risk. They require that the investors place their money at risk, that they create new American jobs. And if successful, they can get their green card and they can actually get their money back in a, let's say, 5, 6, 7 year period. But the direct program, being different, requires that they invest directly into the business operations of a new commercial enterprise. It's a pure equity investment, so it's inherently more risky. It can't be collateralized similarly to a loan that would be made in the EB-5 Regional Center program. And the investor, more often than not, is typically more involved in the operations of the direct program. Right now, the direct program is taking a lot of applications because it's the only game in town. And then also because the program, or the investment amount, came back down from $900,000 US all the way to $500,000 US. And so there's been a rush to the direct program. But what I would tell you about the direct program is that, just as someone mentioned about putting $50,000 into a business in the UK, it's not really feasible to buy into a business for $50,000. It's also not really feasible to take $500,000 US and create 10 new permanent US jobs and sustain that business over the time period that's needed for an EB-5 investor to become successful. More often than not, those investors have to put in far more than $500,000 to see that that business remains successful and they can make it through their EB-5 investment life cycle. So it's something that they need to take into consideration when they're looking at the direct program. Why do I think that the regional center program is going to take on far more petitions when it gets reauthorized? It's simply because of that. It's a little bit more of a passive investment. They can invest into a project that calculates jobs based on economic modeling. They don't have to be directly involved in the day-to-day business operations of a project. And their investment can be underwritten such that they know that the value of their investment is going to create the jobs that they need to create.
Okay, so that's definitely, the regional center is a safer way to go forward. Mr. Vardikos, the pandemic was hard on those countries that depend on tourism and, which is the mainstay because, borders were closed and people had a hard time moving across borders. Now that we are opening up, what is the biggest draw or breeze for investors? Because it's an idyllic place where people want to go for holidays. Do people want to live there for a longer period of time? Do they want to get a residency there? If yes, why?
Well, thank you for the question. as you said in the presentation, I'm here in my triple capacity as the Greek lawyer, as the Consul of Dominica, and as a Citizenship Investment Authorized Agent for Dominica. We have served the Indian international community for many years, and we have come with one unbeatable solution for Indians. A combination of the Dominica passport and the Greek residency. Both programs can work out remotely. You can apply for a Dominica passport remotely, and you can apply for your Greek golden visa remotely. And this is to your question about Hogan. Both programs have been fully exercisable during the COVID time. You can apply for your golden visa in Greece, irrespective if it is a property or a monetary one, I mean with a bank deposit, remotely. You can just come to Greece for the biometrics. So, precisely for the Indian community, you don't need to come to Greece. You don't have any minimum stay requirement for the golden visa. We can do everything for you. You just come with your next of kins for the biometrics. You can spend as much time as you want, and recently we have done for 2 ultra high net worth individuals the new regime in Greece, which is the non-dom. You have to make an investment in 3 years of 500,000 euros in property or in company, and you get tax residency in Greece that has a PTA in India for your worldwide income for a flat rate tax of 100,000 euros and 20,000 for every dependent that lives with you in Greece. So Greece is the place to live. Greece has always been welcoming Indian investors, and I think that the numbers of the Greek golden visa program show it.
Is this online option still open, and is it open for everyone, all investors?
It's open for everybody. You need to have a lawyer who represents you in Greece. He will apply, he will open the bank account for you. You can send your funds there. Once you have identified the property, we can do the purchase without you being there. For many investors, we suggest that they start with a 400,000 bank deposit. The bank deposit is the easiest. You have a capital guarantee, you put your money in a European bank, and you can withdraw it at any time. Now, Greece has the particularity for the following. First, the main applicant does not have to be an adult. If you have a minor child, the minor child now can be the main applicant. Secondly, you can open the bank account, you can establish the fixed term deposit, get your residence visa, and come only for the biometrics. So you need only one click.
And what are the benefits of getting a residency in Greece? I mean, it sounds very simple. It's online, you transfer the money, it's just a bank account deposit that has to be made. What benefits do I get? I mean,
you get unobstructed residence in Greece, unobstructed traveling to the other European countries. All golden visa programs have this particularity. You can live in the country where you have acquired the golden visa as long as you like, but for the other Schengen states, you have 90 days over 6 months. So in Greece, you don't have a minimum stay requirement, and at the end, you have the path for citizenship under certain conditions. However, we do have programs for corporate solutions that would lead to a residence permit coupled with a work permit, and the work permit after 18 months can be transferred to any other European country.
Sounds very, very attractive. All our panelists are here to take questions from you. Tatiana at the back of the hall is here to help you out with any questions if you have. Please raise your hands, identify yourself and the speaker to whom you're asking the questions so that they can help answer your questions.
Hello, Alexandra Kenner, Integrators Group Malta. I have a question about Portugal. We have clients who do ask us for Portuguese a golden visa, and although in-house we only provide services related to Malta, citizenship and residency, but we have clients who come to us asking about other jurisdictions. So for Portugal, I've been trying to find information about whether there have been, like what is the number of successful cases of those who have obtained citizenship as a result of this golden visa program, but I have not been able to find it. Do you have any information, just like an indication? Because
I will start and after I pass the microphone to David. There is no official statistics per se. Unfortunately, it is published on the number of applications that have been successful for citizenship. You have to go through different lawyers who are representing clients in this part. Myself, I've seen about 14 cases, like witness from my eyes that have been successful. So I know that for sure it did work, but I'm sure there are more than that that have been successful in Portugal. The thing is that it's based on an individual relationship that you have with multiple lawyers that will share this information with you.
Yeah, I think Nicolas replied pretty well to the question. I mean, you won't find any statistics because golden visa from Portugal per basis is a residence program. So when you apply for the citizenship is a different law and there's no connection between one thing and another. So basically the process for the citizenship is very straightforward, much more even than the golden visa. So you'll be surprised how easy it is to get it. But it's a very straightforward process for a citizenship law that we carry for many years already. So it's available for everyone doing golden visa, everyone doing work permits or any sort of residence permit in Portugal for more than 5 years. You can qualify to get the citizenship.
Thank you very much. And just a really quick question: how long does it take right now from the point from golden visa application for citizenship, or from the application for citizenship to obtaining citizenship?
From the time you apply for citizenship?
After 5 years of golden visa,
I would say
applying for
9
permanent
months to 1
residence.
year. 9 months to 1 year. This is a very straightforward process. I just wanted to add on what David was mentioning. Also, we don't have statistics. I think politically, the government of Portugal sent very strong signs on the fact that this program is a residency program. It's not a citizenship program. But Portugal needs new citizens and they want you to become citizen. So the requirement is extremely simple to become a citizen, and there is a willingness of the government to show that they will deliver citizenship. One of the very strong statements that was made, it was following heavy criticism that was made in the industry, saying that Portugal will never give residency. Maybe 2-3 months after, we had a change in regulation for citizenship. They say instead of having to wait 6 years, they say we have to wait 5 years. So basically, they reduce the time that you had to hold residency before applying by 1 year. And the main reason they did that is because it was about the timing where golden visa applicant will be able to apply. So I think it was a very strong sign that it has not been announced for this very specific purpose, but the timing was speaking by itself. So, and every conference you will say, you will have the same statement from the government for one very simple reason. Portugal has an aging population, and today you have 2 persons working for 1 person not working. If it continues like that and we don't have new citizens, it will be 1 person working for 2 persons not working. So they are fully aware of that, and no matter of the criticism made by some politicians to justify their presence in the European Parliament, ultimately we are seeing more benefits than anything with these programs, and ultimately the citizenship process has nothing to do with the golden visa. It is something that is completely separated, and hence the fact that we don't have statistics linked to the specific industry.
Sorry, after the problem that arose with Malta and Cyprus and so I say that after what happened with Cyprus and Malta, and there is no proper citizenship by investment program in Europe. Spain, Portugal, and Greece, and they do have a residence program. So the only being Montenegro for the moment, but Montenegro had 2,000 allocations, and the government has had the pressure from the European Union and will cancel it at the end of the month. So I don't think that we should, all of us here, we should say that the residence permits, the golden visas, lead to citizenship. They lead to citizenship under proper national laws, and you can never find whoever gets the citizenship after his golden visa. It is true that Portugal and Greece, they do have a national legislation that permits to the golden visa holders to apply. But there are conditions that have to be met after the 5 years period of residence.
Yeah, I hope the question is answered. Are there more questions? Please raise your hands and identify yourself and the speaker you're asking the question to. Any more questions? It is theoretically possible, right? 2012 the program is very hard. So 5 years is 2 years. Theoretically, it is possible to get your move your citizenship application in Portugal, right? Theoretically, it's possible. And for data, you have to check with each lawyer who processes the application, right?
What we have to say to the people who come here is, because I've seen presentations, and they say how many countries you can, I mean, speaking for the Caribbean, how many countries you can travel. You can travel to 160 countries or to 150 countries. The advice I have to give after years of practice is that you cannot take into consideration the number of countries, because who will go to Tuvalu from here? Do you need a visa free for Tuvalu? You don't need. You need a powerful passport that can give you access to Europe, to Russia, to China, to all the main countries. So I understand that a European passport is a very powerful passport, but it's not easy to get.
Right? You want to disagree, Charlotte? For Malta, are there any changes being brought about or considered? Because there was talk about, greater due diligence, about raising the threshold. Are there any changes being planned in the program in Malta?
So actually the program changed last year already. Due diligence became even more stringent. They adjusted some conditions, but I will follow on saying that this is not a citizenship by investment program. This is a residency program that can lead to citizenship after either 1 year or 2 years of residency period in Malta. And this is a citizenship by naturalization. So again, with the national law, the applicant will become naturalized Maltese, and we do not have as well any statistics. However, they publish the name of any naturalized Maltese person in the National Gazette every year, but the name can be from naturalization by marriage or for following the residency by the residency program, but you wouldn't know which is which. So there is not proper statistic as well. But I think it's common to every European country.
Mr. Connolly, for Ireland, okay, we have one question. Somebody from the audience wants to ask a question.
Hi, I'm Sadia from Second Pass Global. It's just a question that we as immigration advisors are asked from clients, and I thought it might benefit the audience as well, since the specialists are here. What are the key differences in the golden visas of Portugal, Greece, Spain, and Malta? The thing that stands out, which is maybe layman interpretation, is that after 5 years, they will become permanent residents and they can sell their property. But that is not the case, I understand. In Greece, you have to retain the property for life. The moment you sell it, the visa gets cancelled. And I think that's the case with Spain, the same thing. But for Malta, I believe, it's you just have to rent for 5 years or buy for 5 years, and after that you can sell. So, then it becomes still, from day one it's permanent, I believe. And so after every 5 years it gets renewed, as long as you rented or held the property for 5 years. And then to David, the same question again. After 5 years, if you sell, will you be a permanent resident, and will your PR card be renewed 5 years, or you have to wait for your passport? So I guess each of you can answer this, because it's a comparison that most people want to know.
Go first, Charlotte. So for this program in Malta, it's not 5 years, it's either 1 year or 3 years. So there are two options that the applicant must choose at the very beginning of the application. So if it's only 1 year, the applicant will need to either lease the property for a year or purchase a property. And after that, after the passport will be obtained at the end of the program, when the program is completed, then there is the 5 years compliance time. So basically, you're right, it's on top of that. They need to retain the property, either leased or purchased, and not sell it again or sublease it, at least during those first 5 years after obtention of the passport. After these 5 years, the applicant is free to lease a cheaper property or to rent his purchased property. However, they need to keep in mind that they need to retain a residence in Malta if they want to keep their ID card for residence purposes, but it will not change anything passport-wise.
Charlotte, I think there was a little bit of confusion. My question is primarily for residency. I'm not talking about passport. We all established that these are golden visa programs. Malta has two programs. I am talking about a Malta permanent residency program, not the main.
Okay, so the MPRP.
If you can compare MPRP to the rest, how is it different?
It's after you obtain the residence card, you have to. It's the same thing. You have to keep your lease or purchase property for 5 years, and not sublease it or not sell it.
And after 5 years, no obligation.
After 5 years, you can sublease your property or opt for a cheaper property. However, you must retain a residency in Malta simply because the residency card that you will be holding is linked to your address in Malta. So your certificate of residency will still be valid, but you need to have a residency address in Malta. So technically, you need to have a house or property in Malta.
For life, then. If you don't, does it get cancelled?
It does not. It should not get cancelled, but you will not have the use of the residency card that allows you to travel visa-free within the Schengen area. So you will still be able to come to Malta, but without the card, it's done.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting this. So your card will be taken, but you'll be a resident? How do you prove that?
So basically in Malta, it differs from other countries, but the residence card that you get is linked to your residence. So if you change address, you need to change your card. If you don't have an address to give, you will not get a card. But you have your certificate of residence in Malta, because the MPRP also gives a certificate for life. But unless you have a permanent property in Malta, you will not have the residency card, which is the main advantage of the program. So that's the difference with the other countries, I think.
Thank you. This is very enlightening. Even for me, I didn't know this point that you have to.
It's a bit tricky, especially that the MPRP, when it has been renewed, it's a new program for this year, and the old program has just, I think it's been 5 years now. So we're only starting to see the practical cases of this, but that's from the guidelines that I'm guiding you.
Thank you.
So from Portugal perspective, it's very simple. When you invest for the golden visa, you have to invest for a minimum period of 5 years. There's no maximum period that you can stay on the golden visa program. So basically, if the investor wants, can continue to retain the investment and renew the application every 2 years. After 5 years, it's also eligible to apply for permanent residence or citizenship. So once the client requests the permanent residence or the citizenship, because he's eligible once he collects more than 5 years of residence permit in Portugal, then basically he doesn't require to have a golden visa anymore. But this is totally flexible, so I would say the three things go in line in different perspectives, so it's up to the investor to decide.
In Ireland, it's a little bit different in that you're actually investing in a project. You don't have to buy a house, you can rent a house. It's not reliant on you getting your permanent residency. Once you do your investment, you have to keep your investment in for 3 years. Your permanent residence is renewed after 2, then after 3, which is 5 years, and then every 5 years after that. Some projects, like what we have as a social housing project, where the government will actually buy the houses back off you through an approved housing body after the 3-year period. So there's no need for purchase a house or anything like that in Ireland.
In the UK, our PR, permanent residency, is not based on property, it's based on investment into businesses. So they have to invest into a business, in some case work, some case not. But at the end of the 3 years, providing the individual meets the criteria set by the Home Office, they will get their permanent residency.
So I think part of Portugal has already been asked and answered. But I would just say that, just to bring a bit more clarity to your questions, is that the principle of residency is really living in a country. Because you need to live in a country, most of the programs that will exist will really attach maintaining the residency under the specific scheme of golden visa, linked to the fact that you maintain the investment. So golden visa, you invest, maintain the investment, you keep the golden visa, which means you keep the privilege of having less requirement for physical residency requirement, which is 7 days in average per year, 14 days every 2 years. The day you're actually going to transform this to a permanent residency, which is eligible after 5 years of holding this golden visa, you actually switching this physical residency requirement to a 6 months plus per year. Because as a permanent resident, you need to live in Portugal more than 6 months per year, otherwise you will not be a permanent resident. So the only program, and I see where you're coming because we had those discussions in the past, but I know that if you want to get the benefits of the golden visa in Portugal, you have to understand that as long as you want to get your money back, you have to make one of the two decisions. Either you move to Portugal under permanent residency, or number 2, you apply for your citizenship since you're eligible for citizenship. So this is basically what lies on Portugal.
Really quickly, the EB5 program obviously is apples to oranges. It's very different. It's not tied to purchase of real estate. It's tied to job creation. You have to sustain your investment in that job creating enterprise for the first 2 years of your residency. You do have to establish that residency and maintain it for at least 2 years before you can be eligible for the removal of those conditions and the receipt of your permanent green card. At that point, the restrictions are lifted and you're no longer tied to having to maintain a specific residency. However, you'd have to renew that green card every 10 years.
Well, as I said, in Greece, you need to buy a property or properties. You can have a plot of land, you can have an apartment, anywhere in Greece. There is no restriction. It has to have a value of 250,000. On these premises, you are being granted a golden visa for 5 years. The golden visa for you, for your next of kin, is being renewed every 5 years. You get a new card on the premises that you hold the property, or you hold any property in Greece of a minimum value of 250,000. And another aspect that I didn't say before is that we have seen many Indians who are coming out of Greece who give birth to Greece, because if one of the parents has a golden visa and the child is being born in Greece, on the premises that it has a full scholar, goes to a Greek school, at the 18 years of age, it has an autonomous right to get a Greek passport, a Greek citizenship.
But you still have to hold on to the land has to be there even after 5 years.
Yes, you need to have a minimum value of 250,000, but it's automatic, it's a permanent residence, but the card, you have to change it every 5 years. I mean, if you have a child today who is 6 years old, after 5 years it will be 11, the photo does not correspond. So you just have to replace it. It's just a replacement. There is nothing, it is a permanent residence, but you do have to change the cards every 5 years.
All right. I want to thank all the speakers for taking their time out, joining us in this panel, answering so many questions, talking to us about the program benefits, each country's program benefits. I'm sure the audience has learned a lot about these programs, and if there are any subsequent questions, you can reach out to our speakers. They have booths here, they'll be happy to answer your question. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Kumar, Pratik, Charlotte, David, Mr. Descaldi, Matt, Mr. Leary, Nicolas, Salerno, and Mr. Christos, Vardikos. Thank you all for joining us and participating in this discussion.